Daniel Simmons, welcome back to the Running Effect podcast. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm feeling great. Today's been a good start.
I'm gonna start with a generic question, but nonetheless, people are curious about it. Where are you pulling these performances out of, man? They're crazy.
What do you mean? Uh,
401 at altitude?
yeah, okay, I see what you're saying now. Okay.
Come on.
Um, I don't know. I feel like I've just been getting stronger every single day. I've been consistent with my training and definitely been believing in the impossible. So,
Do
yeah.
you ever wish that you didn't live in Utah? You lived at sea level where I don't know. What's your take on like the whole altitude debate? I mean, a 401 is for sure a sub four, no doubt about it. It's just a question of how far under. Do you ever wish you lived elsewhere, or do you appreciate the altitude? And I mean, it does make the performances all the more crazy. A kid runs 401 10 years ago. Everyone's talking about it. Nonetheless, now you're doing it
Yeah.
at altitude. It's crazy.
I love living here. The living at altitude, I feel like it gives the mystery kind of effect because, like, who knows how far under I would actually be able to go, or if I would, because there is a debate. But I think I noticed, a big change between how it feels like in the third lap, particularly like the ache in the burn in the chest is like way different at altitude than it is at sea level. So yeah, I love living here. I think it's a good mystery advantage, I guess. I don't know.
At the state meet, you went 836.79, 401.27, and then you also placed sixth in the. No, you won the 4x8, and then you also
Yeah.
placed. You're crazy, man. Won the 4x8, so you won three titles, and then you placed sixth in the 800. You ran 153. If I would have sat down and talked with freshman Danny and told you those things, would you have believed me?
Um, I don't know because I lived in Idaho my freshman year, so I would have been like, "What? I live in Utah? That's crazy." But yeah, I probably would have believed it. I don't know. I've been wanting to go sub four for a long time, and I think 8:30 has been like my I can do this kind of range. Um, the 800's never been my strongest thing, but American Fork's legit and pretty strong in the 800 right now, so we got some pretty good times out of that.
By the time this comes up, I'm sure you'll be racing soon. What's next for you, and what are the races you have to close out your season?
Uh, I'm heading in about 2 weeks on June 9th to Portland, Oregon for the Portland Oregon Track Fest to do a
Oh,
5K.
oh,
Trying to
okay.
qualify for the Olympic trials at that one. So
And what's the time there? That time to hit.
13:25 is the
Okay.
standard for the Olympic trials, A standard. Um,
Mhm.
so be I'm expecting to get there. So I guess yeah, if you're watching, that's what you're looking for.
And then are you doing New Balance Outdoor Nationals after that and then hopefully USA's, or what does the rest of the schedule look like in your mind?
Um, yeah, so if I qualify for the Olympic trials at the Portland Track Fest, I'll go same weekend, it's like sorry, Portland Track Fest is like June 9th, and then I'm going to New Balance Outdoor Nationals for like June 14th through the 16th. We'll hit up maybe. I think we're still trying to figure it out which races exactly because I obviously want that 4 minute mile, but I also want to defend my 2 mile title at New Balance. So we'll do that, and then I'm not planning to do USA's. I think I'm just planning to do the Olympic trials if I qualify, of course.
Right. For you, I know we've talked about this a little bit in relation to the Brooks PR meet. Is it ever difficult, or do you ever get like FOMO with how many this time of year, like big time track meets happen and guys are running so fast and like, it's some guy, Griffith, there's no way he doesn't break four on Thursday. And I'm sure in the back of your mind, like, oh, I could be there there with him, but it would compromise the rest of your schedule. So how do you approach watching from the sideline some of these races and just staying patient as you get closer to June 9th?
I say that my heart and mind is focused on like, dude, they're killing it. That's so exciting for them. I love to see the track and field community as a whole. Like my generation is rising to, the levels of past and surpassing, getting records, going hard. So honestly, a victory for anyone is a victory for my mind. And I know I'm just trying to do my best and seek out my own path that I feel really happy and really good about. So there is a little bit of FOMO, of course, but I'm like, it's not like detrimental or anything. It's just like, oh, I
Sure.
wonder it's just like more curiosity. Like, oh, I wonder what I could have done if I was in that race. But
Yeah.
I'm happy with my path.
You've raced Nathan Neal and Drew Griffith both uh, this year, and you know both guys. What's your take? I mean, other guys could break 4.2, but I mean, when
What's
Drew
my
goes
take?
357, it's like he's got. If you sell a 357 in the 16, like
Hmm.
he has a better chance of breaking 4 than not breaking 4, in my opinion. But do you
I
think
agree.
how many guys do you think we'll see break 4 on Thursday, and how low do you think they could go?
Dang. I've seen I've seen like through Instagram and stuff, just I've seen a lot of guys like right around 403 and 401. I don't really know what altitude they're running it at. So I think with a properly, honest race raced, where like, I think there's a rabbit most likely, and
Hmm.
everybody's just gonna be trying to race smart and race hard and race for the win. Um, I hope to see at least like three or four guys. I know. I think one that's not super heard of is my boy Will Stedman. He took second behind me at state, right at 402, I think. So he's definitely really strong. He's getting faster. Um, so I want to see him break four, but I
He ran
think
402 at altitude.
yeah, right behind me.
What?
Yeah.
What do they
He was
feed
just
you guys in Utah?
he was just he was hugging behind me the whole race. So it was it was like it was scary for me for sure, but but it was held strong. Um, I don't know what the I think Utah's just like we kind of know the secrets
Yeah.
to
Do you think
success or
that
something
you
like
running
that.
401 and going out from the front that hard? I know you're humble guys, so you might have a hard time admitting this, but how much do you think you've elevated the state in your 4 years there, helping guys like Will? I think you mentioned was his name. I should know
Mhm.
his name at this point if he's running 402 at altitude. I'm sure I will on Thursday. Like, is that something you're really proud of walking away from the state of like, if you weren't in that race, he's probably not running 402. You're the guy that's making it honest. And other kids, even in middle school, are looking up to you and being like, oh, a sub 4 at altitude is possible. Like Danny Ainge showed us that you can get really close to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you said there last is like what I hope has happened. Like I love honest racing. I mean, sitting and kicking is really fun, but it doesn't feel as good to walk away with a win when you know you didn't put your absolute best into the race. And so that's just my heart and mind to go for it. I just love driving it. I love taking the lead and wanting to win with as fast as a time as possible. So inspiring the upcoming generations is kind of my bigger idea is just do your best every time. And so I think when I'm doing my best, if I can help other people come along, like Will and Zach and some of my teammates, all the Utah community type guys, that just makes me feel even better. Because post race, I think at BYU, I know one of my friends came up and was like, "Dude, thank you so much for leading it. Like I got a really big PR because I was able to just hang on and then close." And I was like, "Yes, I love that I can help others also reach their big goals." So that's something. That's just a little thing, I guess.
I've met you before. I can confirm you're like this in person, but for the listener, they'll be like, man, Danny's the nicest, most humble guy ever. Where do you get this from? Who are your
Um,
parents? Were you raised
my
this
parents.
way? Like, where do you think you've gained some of these? I don't know. You're a very selfless person, and you know, from a fan's perspective, it is entertaining when you hear like a Josh Kerr or Jakob Ingebrigtsen where, they're
Yeah.
going at each other's throats, but you very much seem like the opposite. You want to uplift everyone, and you, I think, probably have a hard time giving yourself flowers. Like you're always trying to give other people their flowers. Is this something that's like happened as you've matured in the sport? Have you always been like this? And where does this mindset kind of come from?
I mean, when I was young, I was really shy. And so I think that kind of shyness molded a form of humility and like meekness kind of character. But then I've always just felt uncomfortable talking about myself. I never enjoy it. It doesn't feel like super, I don't know. I feel like you're never gonna change if you think so much about yourself. Like if you think you are one way, then how can you grow to be better if someone else thinks something differently? So I uh I just try and find the truth basically, and so I don't want to be like I am this because I don't know. I can't see myself and everything. So yeah, I don't know.
How much do you think that's contributed to your progress, having that humble mindset and attitude? I think once you think you have everything figured out and that like you're that guy, I do think it prevents a lot of progress.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what it does for me is it it allows me to take the best from whatever kind of environment I allow myself to be in, I guess, because I think, there's a line I've heard where it's like train like you've never won, but race like you've never lost. And I think that mindset is just like you need to be open to what you believe could work best and what others can see is working really well. Um, and so when you can do that, there's a lot of shift that can occur that's for the best, and you can learn a ton from your choices and experiences.
Looking ahead to June 9th, the Olympic trials is something I think that any semi-serious runner chases, and I think it's something specifically as people get older in the sport or like post college that they're like, oh, I want to hit that mark. Rarely ever do I hear a high schooler talk about wanting to hit that mark. What's it going to be like on June 9th? I mean, you really have nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah,
If you get it, everyone will be stoked and probably talk about it a lot. But like if you don't, it's not like the end of the world. You know, you're a high schooler.
yeah,
How are
yeah.
you entering into that race, and how excited are you to go after it and see how far you can go?
Um, I'm I'm really excited. Like you're saying, it's like it's the last one, last day that you can actually qualify for the Olympic trials, and so I'm just, I'm going into it optimistically, believing that, great things can happen. Um, I think, uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm just really excited because it's something that I've been aiming for a long time, since, some shortcomings earlier in like cross country and then like indoor. There's some rough stuff, but it's just yeah, it's something I've been I don't know. Yeah,
It's
sorry.
been on your heart, been on your
Yeah,
mind. Let's go back to the last cross country season. I think you hit it lights out, and then you had a little bit of a setback at NXN. Take me
hmm
through that race. I think it's helpful to like the listener. I think always relates more to the rough performances than the good ones. Like
true.
when you say 13:25, a freshman boy in high school is like, what? He probably said 15:25. There's no way he's going after 13:25. So, giving some context because I think it would help some people out. Can you talk about that race and how you bounce back from a setback, even though it's still a great performance for you? I know you
Yeah,
wanted more out of it.
for sure. Um, NXN was interesting. Um, I was I went into it obviously wanting to win and and run like on, and I wanted to get like the course record and set a really high bar for the upcoming generations, but um, a lot of that there was definitely a lot of pressure that I didn't expect to feel because there was a lot of guys I hadn't raced yet and I had no clue how fast they actually were. And so I began to like kind of shift my mind because I was like, okay, this pressure is coming because I want to win. So instead of wanting to win, I want to race my absolute best. I just want to do my best, and that's how I know I can walk away with, good spirits, good feelings. And most likely, if I race my best, I could probably win. So um, it's like it was a good kind of switch, and it helped relieve a lot of the nerves. Um, Then, like going into the race, there was a few hiccups with my spikes. I was there was like I could wear ones where you can put in actual spikes that were big and could claw down on the mud, the super soft, spongy surface, or the pair that I ended up racing in were built in, just little like quarter-inch spikes, little pins. They're track spikes. They're just lightweight and had like more carbon fiber plate in there, and so um, I ended up using those ones, and it was kind of a mess because the start line is super destroyed and super muddy, and um, getting out fast was kind of impossible because I just couldn't get the grips on. And so I kind of got buried in the pack. And then making up ground on a soaping wet, destroyed course is really hard, especially with some short plastic spikes. So it was a huge learning experience where kind of it really showed through that like the smallest little things can make the just like a mountain of difference in results. So um, don't toss out the little stuff. Every little thing can add up to something great when it's collected all together, and that's usually how you get like a home run performance. All the little things line up. You get the right sleep, you eat the right food, you feel the right positivity, you do the right things, all line up and just whew, nail it.
How did
um,
you take that setback going into the indoor season? You said you had a few hiccups in the indoor season. I remember you were lights
yeah.
out. Maybe you can fill that out. How'd you kind of bridge the gap between cross and indoor? Take me through that transition.
Yeah. I basically the only way to get out of my like despair and kind of misery from NXN, because that one was definitely that hurt a lot, but I just had to set new goals and forget about it basically and try and move on. But I think like a lot of my confidence left after that race, and so I don't know, I felt like throughout indoor season, I was getting sick a lot. I got like just ups and downs of just getting really weak and losing all my strength, not being able to eat. And then I got back up and was able to do things. And I think, one of the weekends that I was talking about where it was like a hiccup was the New Balance International Grand Prix. There was the mile. JoJo went sub 4. I think I ran like 4:18 or 4:19. It was just it was so hard. I didn't have so much strength, and I was really sick leading up into it, but I still went for it. But after that, I think, I started finding, where my like heart and mind were telling me to search for and start striving for were like, the bigger the like end of the season type of things where you can work under the shadows. You can work where nobody knows where you are, and build your strength and feel your confidence come back into you just by your own good works. So um, after the Grand Prix, that was another kind of letdown. Like it was just up and down, but uh, New Balance Indoor Nationals was like, okay, I'm gonna make my mark there, and then after I make my stand there, that's a good gauge of what I can do the rest of the season.
I think a lot of people would have a result like you had at like the indoor Grand Prix, and that would affect the rest of their season because mentally they wouldn't be able to recover from it. What are some tips you would give to the audience of people who had like a rough recent race or a rough last track race going into the cross season of how to have that short memory and focus on bigger things as you did? Running lights out at the, I mean, legitimately, I follow the sport. I don't remember you running 4:18, which just shows how like you buried it behind you.
Yeah. Um, I think, the basic the only thing I could do, because I was it was either give everything up or just put my faith in Jesus Christ to get me there. Because I didn't have faith in anything else because I was working so hard and just lost a ton of strength in sickness. And so I was like, if I can lose everything just like that, what's the point in trying? And so after that, I was like, well, that's how life is, honestly. So you sh- you either give everything up right now, or you can trust your creator who knows that the path that seems to be throwing you all over the place is actually the exact path you need to be on to get where he wants you to be. And so I just began to just kind of throw away my thoughts of I need to be here in order for this to happen. It was more of a I'm here, let's see what can happen. I feel good about what is going to happen, and I trust that anything can happen. So just believe in the power of change and the power of impossible. So that's my take.
Can you take me through that indoor 5K record national championship race? You kind of went for it, never looked
Mhm.
back. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The my goal going into it was to run the first mile around 424, 426 range, and then try and negative split for like a 424 again or a 422, and then run the last mile as fast as I could. And so Uh, I think I got a pacer in there or I had a pacer the first mile, and we went through at I think 426 or 427, pretty close to it. And so I was like, okay, well, I feel really strong. He stepped off at about 2K or 1800 meters, and then I took the lead and felt confidence in my pace, felt confidence in my momentum, and picked it up. I think second mile was like 422, so like my goal second mile split. And then from there, I felt the burn start rolling, but in my mind, I could just feel like this power like compelling me to don't give up momentum. You're gonna do this. Like you have the strength to get there. It hurts. It hurts a lot, but your muscles can do it. Like you can make it to the finish line strong and fast. And so every lap I was just clicking off. I think I was like 32s and 33s, and then I started getting down to like low 32. Um, and then so I like went through the 3200-meter mark at 8:49, which was pretty close to my indoor season like PR. I was like, dang, all right, this is gonna be fast. And so I started clicking off the last 8 laps. I was like, okay, this is killer. This is really killer. But I feel the strength, one lap at a time. And there's like people on the inside of the track like, you got this. Don't give up. Keep it going. Keep it rolling. And so that's what was like floating in my head. Just keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Don't give it up. Don't give up the momentum. Giving up momentum is like that just nope, that's where your race can tank really fast. As soon as you give up one step, the next step becomes harder and just it's a downhill trajectory. So consistent, just like every step matters. And so going into like the last 2 laps, I was like, okay, we're almost there. And so I started just going like kicking hard and really reeling it in. I think I closed in like a 61 or a 60 for my last quarter mile. I think my last mile was like 416, somewhere around there. And ran through the finish line, saw 13:38. I was like, yeah, that's so good.
Did that feel like a cherry on top to the months previous, all the struggles, NXN? How good did it feel to finally have a result that you're like, it was all worth it? I'm glad I didn't
Yeah,
give up. You took me through that kind of battle in your head, not giving up.
dude, that was definitely one of the most like satisfactory races I've ever done because like you're saying, like all the struggle that led up to it, it could have derailed me like from the beginning, but just it proves the point of believing in the impossible, believing in miracles and striving for things that seem ridiculous are um even if you're like falling off the bus, you can still get right back on and the hard work comes through eventually. And so my feelings were just like on top of the world because that was the hardest race I ever raced, and it was a very good time that I really, really needed. And so it was just like sick. Now we move on to outdoor.
Yeah. And for some context too, you ran the 4 by mile the day before, right?
I did, I did. I think I ran 4:07
So legs
in the
were
mile.
not fully fresh. Dude, this 13:25. If I was a betting man, I would bet on it.
Sweet. Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, because you say 13:38, obviously crazy. National record's always crazy, but it's like you ran a mile the day before. You said, wasn't it a national record as
Yeah.
well?
Oh, no, the 4 by mile was the second fastest time ever.
Second
Newberry
fastest.
Park has the number one.
Gotcha.
But
So close enough. Still crazy.
yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
insane. So
Thank
one of
you.
your next races outdoors was Arcadia, where you definitely had some. Like, I don't want to diss other guys. Paul Bergeron, great guy. He's been on the podcast. I think he plays second, but 14:14 to 13:38 is quite the range. You go to Arcadia, you have some competition, people to push you. What was that race like? A little more sit and kick, a little more tactical.
Yeah.
It's a race that Simeon Birnbaum absolutely stole from you the year before, legally, but stole from you.
Yep.
Final
Hmm.
inches. What was it like to come
Yeah.
back and win your senior year?
Dude, that was one of the most uh that was a crazy race because I got a whole lot more swallowed up in the pack the first lap than I was expecting to, and like the year before I got out pretty good. But this year, I got my shoe stepped on. I got my shin absolutely like stabbed. There was like three big gashes that went through my shin. I was like, well, I know after the race I'm gonna be bleeding, but let's get it. um, so going into it, I felt really good. I don't know. I wasn't scared. I wanted to race my fastest. I knew everybody was going to try and race really fast. I felt really like there's fear obviously because like I wanted to win and all these guys are studs. Everyone's fast. Everyone can pop off at any time that the things line up. And so, but I just kind of put that aside and I was like, you know what? Again, this is my race to race my best. So when I do that, it's gonna be for the best for everyone. You know, theoretically. But so after the first lap, it was a little scary. I was a little far behind, but I felt strong. Felt obviously really strong, and um, my whole goal was just kind of okay, start moving up, catch the guys. Obviously, stay patient, but like you need to get up to the front. You don't want to be sitting in lane two and three the whole race, so you'll want to find yourself getting into lane one somehow eventually. And so I started moving up every lap. I think I ran like consistent 65, 66s for the first like mile-ish, just because I was pretty far in the outside lanes, and so I started catching up. And then I think at lap five, I went for the lead, just like the year before. And from there, my whole goal was like, all right, don't let anybody pass you ever. And yeah, it was scary because it was the exact same scenario as last year. Going in the lap, everybody's on my tail. There's fast guys with fast kicks. But then, 300-meter in, I was like, okay, time to pick it up another gear, hopefully pull away a little bit. Guys came with me. It was just, it was crazy. But the whole time, I was just kind of screaming in my head, everything is possible. Anything is possible. It's nobody's gonna, like, if anybody's gonna beat you, it's because you're giving up. Don't give up. Like, you can win it just as much as anyone else can win it. You got this. I kind of had to yell that because there was like a ton of doubt thoughts coming in, being like, "Oh, these guys are gonna beat you." And I was like, "No, they're not. I can do this." You gotta think that if you want to win, you've got to think that. So, um, yeah, and I had to believe it. And then as soon as I started believing it, my strength kept coming back, and I was like, "Okay, we got this."
I love that. That's amazing. Talking about your faith, after the race you posted on Instagram, you said, quote, "Not this time, hashtag redeemed." I believe fully and truly this win was a gift from my Redeemer, Jesus Christ. I know my faith in his delivering hands was the strength with which put me across the finish line first. There were moments to cause doubt, but every stroke of thought for doubt has the opposite stroke for faith, and I knew it was possible through Jesus Christ. I testify and offer my witness that Jesus is the living Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. All things are made possible through him, and he has set me free from my burdens. Amen. End quote. No high schooler talks like that, man. That's amazing. First question for you, just like you're so outspoken in your faith through your platform and through your athletic abilities and performances. Why do you feel this call to be so outspoken about your relationship with Jesus and what he's done in your life?
Well, I believe truly that um, I can go far with training and with my own hard work to get me in the sport, but everything this year honestly has been done beyond my training. Like the strength that I felt come into me has been because of my devotion to Jesus Christ and following the directions that he gives me. And I just can't help but feel so much gratitude for, that everyone struggles, everyone's got issues outside of their sport and outside of school and things. And so, my struggles, my personal burdens, I've carried for a long time, and I finally understood what like repentance was and how to go through the process of it. And I just felt the burdens of my sins just disappear, and I felt so happy and so much joy, more than I've ever felt in my life. And I was like, I I love I love my Savior. Like this is more than I've ever felt for anyone else in my life. Like this is unreal. I don't understand how it works. Like this is I feel so much joy even though I've done so much evil and done such terrible things. And I just so my praise and everything I can do, I'm like, dude, turn to Jesus Christ. Like running and winning is so fun, but it doesn't compare at all to the remission of just our nature, like the remission of overcoming our nature as humans. Um, and so I'm like, if I can help other people feel like the absolute joy that I've felt, I want to. I want to. And so I've been trying to follow that path as much as I can, and running as I've been progressing pretty well. I think I've got a pretty good voice that I can share with the upcoming generations and the people in my generation, the generation above me. And if I can do that, then I know I'm doing the work that has been set out for me to do. And it just, as if I can do that, it's going to bring me more joy, and it's going to bring other people more joy. And that's just the purpose of life, is to experience joy. So that's my testimony.
I love it. I think many people believe in Jesus, but very few are convicted to the point of talking about it, specifically when what they do isn't directly religious. Like running itself is not directly religious, but yet
Yeah.
you and some other people I know do such a good job of bringing it into that and talking about even just like the simple gift of a healthy body to run from
Yeah.
Jesus. For you, what was that difference, or was there a flipping point where you went from merely believing in Jesus Christ to then utilizing your running as a means and an outlet to glorify his name?
I think I think one of the biggest flipping points I've had like one like every year of high school, but particularly like I think the last one that I felt was NXN. Like I felt so miserable after that, and I felt so terrible. Um and after I saw like a new vision of what I could achieve in the future, and I felt like redeemed, I was like, okay, that's my goal, is to help everyone who has ever felt this misery that I know others have felt. Like everyone has a bad race. Everybody has a really big goal, a really big dream that falls. And if I can help people see that if you can get like through that sad outcome, then there's so much there's so much ahead of you. There's so much good that can be done from those falls, I guess. And so after that race, that was a big flipping point where I turned my heart and mind from what I can do physically and what I can do on my own to what can I do through Jesus Christ. And and that's where my journey has taken off from, basically.
Can you explain your mission coming up, where you're going to, and just your devotion to your faith that is so much higher than your devotion to your running? As much as you train
Of
hard,
course.
like, man, taking a mission, I have the utmost respect for people who do. It's the most impressive thing because, sacrifice and sacrificing things you love is so hard, but doing it for a greater
Hmm.
purpose, man, that's that's where life is lived.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I am serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I've been called to serve the Georgia Atlantic North area, um, and I'm going to be speaking Spanish. So I'll be heading out there, and I start my mission training in Provo on July 8th, and I've started my own personal training. Just like I'm really soaking in the scriptures. I've started being familiar with principles of truth, and so I'll head out to Georgia on August 21st, and I'll be out there for 2 years, and then I'll come back and pick up where I left off at BYU. And yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled for it. It's gonna be. I've heard from my brother and my family that it's just one of the most life-changing experiences. You feel you're doing the work of bringing people to Jesus Christ, and my experience with running, like that is the most joyful thing I can do. And as I work through that, it's gonna be so beneficial to my overall soul and joy. So. Mhm.
Maybe a generic question, but is it hard in your mind to give up running for 2 years? Like, I've heard stories from Connor and a lot of those guys have had on the podcast who have been on missions. I'm sure they're good, like, witnesses that you can pick up your running again and excel even more than you thought was possible after taking like a 2 year break. But to my knowledge from talking with guys, like, they don't really train for 2 years. Does
Yeah.
that worry you at all? Or not just even from like a performance standpoint? Like, I know you genuinely love running. Is it going
Yeah.
to be hard giving it up? Or is it just like, no, I'm serving such a greater purpose?
Well, I mean, I've learned to find so much joy in running that giving giving it up for 2 years, like it was obviously one of my concerns. And um, eh, I feel there's so much joy in my thoughts that like rushes into my heart and mind when I think about like going on my mission and serving. Like I'm like I'm not worried at all, just because I can feel something that's beyond my own feelings telling me like this is gonna be so good. And so leaving behind running, like it's gonna be, I feel so much comfort and peace knowing that it'll be great. So I don't think it's like a huge sacrifice just because of how much comfort and peace I feel in moving forward with my mission. So I trust something greater is coming. Obviously, yeah, yeah. Leaving behind running, like I love it, and I love racing, and I love the community. So it's definitely gonna be a shift because there's so much, potential for, say I make it to the Olympic trials and do really well. Like there's so much potential for, getting to know other people and improving my, I don't know, financial situation. I don't know, something like that. But I think going on the mission is gonna be blessed.
Yeah, how crazy is it to think? I think the trials are like the 20th through 30th. I forget when the 5K is. Let's say you run the standard, you go to the trials. Like, dude, how crazy is it to think in less than a 3 week span you could run against the best in the US, line up at the trials, and then go on your mission? How crazy would that be?
I mean, that, I don't know. I've been thinking about that for several months, so it would be crazy. But I mean, I think a song I listened to the other day from The Greatest Showman, one line says like, I'm dreaming with my eyes wide open. Like, I don't know, man. I've been thinking about this for a long time, so I'm hoping to be dreaming with my eyes wide open at that as these times, as the days go by.
Closing out our conversation here, what are you doing to prepare for this 5K? What's training looking like these days? Is it nice to be out of school, dedicate more time to your training? Take me through kind of the process and preparation mentally and physically going into it.
Okay. I've been last week was well, okay. A week and a half ago was the state championship week, and so we kind of leveled off the volume and took a little. I think I got like 45 miles because race days obviously you can't put on a ton of miles, and so this past week I've been mainly focusing on just building my base back up. I haven't really put in like um, workouts or interval stuff. I've loaded up my base so that I can get the endurance back and the strength because I tapered and lost like I don't know, I didn't lose that much, but I want to feel the base strength again, and so I've been doing that, and then outside of that, a lot of just visualizing. That's where most of my belief and strength is coming from, is where my mind and heart are dwelling. So uh, I think those two working together is gonna play out pretty well.
Daniel, closing out our conversation today, for those who have listened to our conversation and are inspired by who you are and all that you've accomplished in the sport, specifically this season, what would be the final takeaway message you want to leave with our audience today?
Ah, that's a good one. I'd say something for anyone of all ages at all times. No matter what you're going through, no matter what it is, no matter what race is coming up or what race has been done, all things can be done through Christ, through belief in Him, and the best things will always come through belief in the impossible, belief in miracles.
Enough
So,
said. I love it, man. I
yeah.
love it. One final question for it, ending this on a light note. What's something non-running related you're looking forward to doing before your mission?
I don't know. Let's see. I went swimming the other day, and that was pretty fun with my brother and sister, and that was pretty epic. But I think before my mission, because on your mission you're actually not allowed to swim, so I probably want to go boating, but I also
Okay.
don't. Boating is like I don't want to get hurt, so something that's low key, but it's gonna be fun.
Just do it between the trials and the mission, and then if you
Yeah,
get hurt, you got 2 years to recover.
valid,
Heal up.
valid.
Do the craziest things you can think of the weeks
Yeah.
leading into it. Anyways, Daniel, really appreciate the conversation and specifically your vulnerability and openness to share your testimony. You're the absolute man. Appreciate it. Keep crushing
Thank you,
it.
brother.
Praying for that
Thank you, brother.
1324.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.